I suffer from sleep paralysis, happened more often during high school, and was mainly me being thrown off a cliff as somebody laughed. It got old pretty quickly. But a couple of years ago at my old place, I downloaded the necrophobic app on my phone and started messing with it. I shouldn't have done that. A week later, I had a dream. This dream started out sexual as a woman was riding me, but her skin quickly turned pale and started decaying rapidly. I pushed her off, and the previous scene of her riding me was playing on a projection behind her as I was surrounded by darkness. She started growling lowly as she walked toward me, and I stepped backward to get away from her. I could feel that anxious feeling that I was about to go full sleep paralysis mode, so I noped out of my dream. I've learned to wake myself up before that shit starts. It's a feeling of anxiety and panic that I need to stop before sleep paralysis sets in. So I basically laid in bed for 4 hours before I fell asleep again. In this dream, I was in a very claustrophobic building. I opened the main door to a wide, grassy field and a road at the end of it. I saw that same pale woman on the road, staring at me, and that same panicky feeling came on strong. I woke myself up, and I could hear the woman scream as I regained my senses. Another week passes by, and I had a dream I was in an old antique shop with this round humanoid creature at the counter. The items in this place felt cursed. I looked around before the shop owner looks at me, and I shit you not, says, "Don't go out there, she's waiting for you." I could see the pale woman outside of the glass doors. As I woke myself up this time, I felt my foot get dragged down the fucking bed and my face leaving the pillow and hitting the mattress. That's the end of it, though. After I moved, I haven't experienced anything like it. My roomies' dogs would also randomly get scared and come into my room to be close to me on my days off, and if I was the only one at the house. I haven't fucked around with that app since... I'll never forget the night that changed everything for me. It was just like any other night. I was getting ready to head to bed after a long day at work. As I was brushing my teeth, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. I shook it off as just my imagination, but the feeling persisted. I turned off the bathroom light and made my way to my bedroom. That's when I heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible sound coming from my closet. I froze, my heart racing. I thought maybe it was just a mouse or some other small creature, but the sound grew louder and more distinct. I approached the closet, hesitantly reaching for the door handle. As I opened it, I was greeted by a chilling sight, 2 glowing eyes staring back at me. I stumbled back, barely able to breathe. My mind raced with fear as I tried to make sense of what was happening. But then the eyes blinked, and I realized with a wave of relief that it was just my cat. I let out a nervous laugh and breathed a sigh of relief. But as I turned to leave the room, I heard a faint whisper, a voice that was not my own. It was barely audible, but it was enough to send shivers down my spine. I spun around, but there was no one there. I told myself it was just my imagination, but the feeling of being watched lingered long after I had turned off the lights and crawled into bed. From that night on, I was never quite the same. The slightest noise would send my heart racing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I never did figure out what was in my closet that night, but I know that it wasn't just my imagination. And sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I still hear that whisper, a reminder that some things can't be explained or forgotten. So it's been a day since I left for the camp, and my sister and Mama just binge watching Netflix late at night. They didn't notice that it was nearly 12 p.m, so they decided to just go to sleep in my mom's room, since my sister was too lazy to go back to her room. They went to sleep, but after an hour my sister woke up to a notification from her phone. It was from a delivery company, and it had said that the package that she ordered online just arrived. She said to me that it was supposed to come around 3 days more. She also found it weird why it came so late, but she didn't think anything of it because she knows that she's Uber stuff way later and it still arrived. Usually, the delivery person would just leave the package there, so she didn't bother opening the door and getting the package 'cause she was way too tired now, and the delivery guy or girl, I can't remember anymore, but anyway, knew her, and they were pretty close, so she knew they wouldn't mind. But just in case, she opened the Key TV app to see if the delivery guy was still there. Just in case, because she knew it would be embarrassing if she just let the guy wait there. She saw the person who usually delivers the packages to her. On the CTV, she saw that he looked a bit weird, but she just brushed it off, and so she immediately got up. My mum woke up in the process and said where she was going, and my sister answered that there was a package that just arrived and she was going to get it from the delivery man. My mum questioned why, 'cause it was late, but my sister just said to think nothing of it. My mum agreed and went back to sleep. My sister went downstairs and opened the door. The delivery guy immediately gave her the package and drove off on his bike. She was going to ask why he delivered so early and why so late in the night, but couldn't. She was definitely feeling a bit wary, but she was too sleepy and tired now. She went back, and instead of going back to my mum's room, went back to hers because she was not processing anymore on what was happening, and it was nearly 2:00 a.m. in the morning now, so she just told my mom she would sleep in her room now and went back to sleep. The next morning, she told everything to my mum, and my mum looked at her in shock. My mum had told me that she was just reading the news, and it said that the delivery guy that showed up last night just went missing 2 hours ago. After this incident, my sister never opened any doors late at night anymore, no matter who it was. She got kind of traumatized and even reported the incident to the delivery company. I also got pretty scared after she told me this after I got back, but my dad, after he got back, just found it funny. This happened when I was 18 and had just gotten my driver's license. My boyfriend, his brother, he is physically and mentally disabled, and I took his parents' car to run some errands. After shopping, my boyfriend asked me to go with his brother to the car while he paid and then pick him up in front of the shop. It was the middle of winter, freezing cold and already pitch dark. The car park was only sparsely lit. My friend's brother sat in the passenger seat, and while I was loading the wheelchair into the back of the car, I noticed an elderly lady who looked a bit lost. I asked if I could help her, and she asked me to call her a taxi. However, no taxi was immediately available, and the elderly lady would have had to wait for over an hour in the cold. I had a strange gut feeling, but offered to give her a lift anyway, as I knew my boyfriend would be joining us in a few minutes. The lady took a seat in the back. When I backed up the car, I looked in the rearview mirror, and suddenly I had a really bad feeling. My gut told me to get out immediately. I learned to trust my gut, and so I found an excuse to get the old lady out of the car. I explained that this was my boyfriend's parents' car, and as a novice driver, I was afraid of damaging it when I tried to pull out. Could she get out and help me? It worked. She got out. I locked the doors, quickly pulled out of the parking space, and left the car park. My boyfriend got in and sat in the back seat. After a few minutes, he noticed a strange handbag and asked where I had got it. I told him about the old lady, and he opened the bag to see if there was a wallet or ID inside so that we could give the bag back to the lady. The bag was empty except for a handful of cable ties and a roll of tape inside. Of course, we went to the police immediately. They took fingerprints from the bag, but they told us a few months later that the investigation was inconclusive. This was when I was 10. I can remember it vividly. So I was upstairs and I was washing my hands. I was going to go downstairs to prepare food with my mum and my sister, but then I heard something in the room where my sister sleeps. She has a bed where underneath there is a place where she can chill out with a curtain over it. Then I heard something in that room, in the chill out place behind the curtain. I thought it was my sister, Ava, because it sounded like her. As I walked into the room and was about to open the curtain, my hand was literally touching it. I heard my sister's voice downstairs. I quickly started running downstairs, but as I looked back when I got to the end of the staircase, I could see a pale figure with dark, long hair watching me as I ran. This happened to me about a year ago. I went to Jules with my mom, grandmother, and my brother. We shopped for at least 20 minutes before leaving. We went into the parking lot, and my grandmother noticed something strange. She noticed a car that had a group of people in it. It was parking near us in a weird way, like when you're about to be stalked by someone in a car. They drove up to us and parked nearby. We then saw a few people come out of the car and walk towards us. My grandmother then told us to get in. I could tell she was really scared. She then shouted at my mom to drive. My mom sped off, and luckily those weird people didn't follow us home. I asked my grandmother why she was scared back then. She said she had a bad feeling about those people. I'm not going to lie, but I did have a bad feeling about those people too. Her instincts told her that those people were bad and that we should get away from them. I'm glad that I haven't seen those people again and that nothing strange has happened in Jules. If you take anything away from this story, then it should be to always trust your instinct. Under the unassuming guise of a joyous occasion, my best friend's birthday, we ventured off to the Valley Fair, our hearts full of youthful enthusiasm and innocent anticipation. A day at the amusement park, how delightful it seemed. Alas, little did I know the day would take a harrowing turn, one that would imprint upon my memory a chilling saga of danger and negligence. As a newly turned 11-year-old girl with a petite frame, I elected to brave the extreme swings, a thrilling contraption that sways its riders to vertiginous heights, briefly nudging them into an almost upside-down stance, all the while tethered only by a slender lap bar. The swing, a mighty metallic behemoth, held an ominous inch of vacant space between my little thighs and the securing buckle. Concerned for my safety, I sought reassurance from the ride operator, inquiring if my diminutive form would stay secure. To my alarm, his response was brusque, dismissive. "You'll be fine. Don't be such a baby," he retorted, undermining my anxiety and casting a dark cloud over my once sunny spirit. As the machine roared to life, my heart pounded with an urgency that rivaled its rhythm. The swing rose higher and higher, first backward, then forward, each time leaving my stomach lurching with dread. I could feel myself perilously shift with every motion, teetering on the brink of a deadly plunge. At such dizzying speeds, the forward thrust rendered you effectively glued to the contraption. Now, imagine the terror I felt when we swung backward at the same ferocity, with only a loose lap bar standing between me and a fatal fall. To add to the horror, there was no handhold to grasp onto, increasing my vulnerability tenfold. Miraculously, I escaped unscathed thanks to my friend who acted as my human anchor, tugging me down to the seat whenever we neared the upside-down zenith. The ride eventually slowed, but the tremors of fear lingered far longer than the actual ride duration. Although I emerged physically unharmed, the psychological scar of that traumatic near-death experience continues to haunt me. Hence, I implore all amusement park operators to take heed of the patrons' concerns. If a rider expresses worry, it is your duty to address it sincerely. If there's even a fraction of a chance that they could tumble out, insist they disembark, make sure to verify the adequacy of their safety leeway, as many may be too ecstatic or terrified to voice out their discomfort. I narrowly evaded tragedy that fateful day. No one else should be pushed to the brink of such a chilling fate.